The 2024 ASM Northern Chapter Roadshow is the third roadshow after Sarawak Chapter and East Coast Chapter. These roadshow series are organized to effectively communicate work of ASM to our stakeholder across Malaysia. ASM's expert networks and programs are introduced during the roadshow to the scientific community, professional bodies, and the public. We would like to thank you to Northern Corridor Implementation Authority and CIA, Malaysia for becoming our strategic partner and making this event possible. Before we begin the second session, we'd like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Haris Kadir Sultan, the Chief Executive of Northern Corridor Implementation Authority NCIA, for his welcoming speech. Mr. Muhammad Haris, please welcome.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat petang. Yang berbahagia, Academician Datuk Dr. Tengku Muhammad Azman Sharifuddin, President of Academy Science Malaysia. Yang berusaha, Puan Hazimi Habib, CEO Academy Science Malaysia. Yang berusaha Mr. Tan Eng Tong, Founder of ET Partners. Yang berusaha Encik Rizatuddin, Director Investment Department of NCIA. Yang berusaha Dr. David Lacey, our old friend. Yang berusaha Professor Insinyur Dr. Shahril Azmin Sundi, fellow members of ASM, management and senior officers of NCIA, and members of industry, respected guests and fellow audience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I was expecting more, but I heard from Datuk in the morning, ramai orang dekat luar. But after lunch, it happens, you know. It happens after lunch. That is why I think what they did, the MC, Sarah did, was a good thing. Took the picture before we start the program. Because makin lama makin kurang nanti. So to ensure that everyone is intact, so we take the picture first. I wish to express our sincere gratitude to ASM for hosting this prestigious roadshow at NCIA. The collaboration between NCIA and ASM, particularly through NCR Technology Innovation Center and TIC, underscores the pivotal role that partnership play in addressing crucial challenges and advancing opportunities in our region. At NCIA, based on our strategic development plan, which we discussed during our recent council meeting, we emphasize on three things: ecosystem development, facilitation of high-value manufacturing, and advanced services. NCIA core activities align seamlessly with what ASM is doing, or if it's not aligned, we make sure that it aligns. Okay, inshallah. Today, as we gather for the ASM Northern Chapter 2024 Roadshow, I am filled with excitement at the prospect of knowledge exchange and collaboration between NCIA, ASM, and every one of us today. This roadshow will present unique opportunity for the discussion and what's next to be done. As we embark on this journey together, I urge everyone to actively participate in the discussions and activities lined up for today. Your engagement and contributions are essential in driving meaningful outcomes and fostering collaboration that will drive positive change in our region. Throughout the day, you will have the opportunity to engage in a variety of stimulating events and activities. Additionally, we will showcase other ASM initiatives and programs such as Malaysian Open Science Platform, 1010 MICE Framework, EST.me, Young Scientist Network, and other interesting parts. This event promises to offer valuable insights, networking opportunities, and avenues for collaboration that will contribute to our collective efforts in advancing innovation and driving growth for our region's ecosystem. Lastly, I wish to extend my best wishes to all participants for a productive and informative experience. May this roadshow serve as a catalyst for innovation, collaboration, and growth, and propelling us closer towards our shared vision in Northern region, inshallah. Thank you very much. I won't be here long. I will have, because Puan Hazimi, she's lucky. She can ponteng post-cap. I can't ponteng post-cap because my post-cap starts at 2:30. I'll participate for a while. Now I'll come back, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mama Haris, for the welcoming speech. Now, join me to welcome Academician Datuk Dr. Tengku Muhammad Azman Sharifuddin, ASM President and SDI Advisor to Prime Minister and Nation, to deliver his speech. Dr. Tengku, please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Salam sejahtera. Saudara Haris of NCIA, Puan Hazami from our ex-CEO, ASM, Saudara Tan, Saudara Rizatuddin, betul-betul saudara, dah berapa tahun saya kenal dia. Dr. David Lacey, good friend also. Professor Sharil, ada? You're here. Thank you. Fellows of the Academy, young scientists, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this IdeaXchange. I guess some of you were here this morning, maybe not all. So I will repeat some things that I said already, maybe good for emphasis. But I will also add in some new material, inshallah. But thank you for coming, because it is a very important event for us as we go around the country. And I want to explain that. Why are we going around the country? This is the sixth state we are visiting after having gone to Sabah, Sarawak, Terengganu, Kedah. Last week was Kelantan, and now Pulau Pinang. And Pulau Pinang is very special, as I shall say later, for the purpose of our discussion. But let me just start with the idea that here we are talking about one constant, which I keep repeating. The constant is change. We are going through rapid change, massive radical change and transformation, which I think you will perceive. But there is a theoretical basis to that, and I will mention that later also. But for Penang, Penang has been making change for a long time. The reason that E&E industry exists in Malaysia is because of Penang, and because of one particular person by the name of Lim Chong Yu. In the late 1960s, two things happened that motivated him to do something. One was massive unemployment among the youth. Number two was the enactment of a new act to enable the creation of free trade zones. I'm told that we didn't invent the free trade zone. We are not very good at inventing those things. You know who invented them? The Irish. So there's a joke going around the world that Irish are not smart people. They're quite smart. So they invented the free trade zone idea, and we copied from them. That's the history, as I know it. Anyway, what happened after that was very interesting also. With the help of PDC, Penang Development Corporation, Lim Chong Yu toured America with a movie of Penang. I've seen the movie many years ago when Chet Singh was giving the joke. There's a joke inside it. The movie showed a factory, a big building with a big signboard saying Penang Radio Company. So all these executives in California got excited, Intel and so on. They came here, set up factory, successful. Then one smart guy asked, where is the Penang Radio Factory? So PDC told them, there's none. It was just a signboard. It's Hollywood. There you are. Branding, very important. But you better deliver. After you brand, you deliver. So this is the story of Penang to start with. And the fact that we responded so well to the multinationals has made this, I would say, initial start a major success. Now we are going through another change. There is a lot of political, geopolitical tensions around the world, and we are one of the major beneficiaries. But that won't be the end. There will be other turmoils coming our way, and I think that we better be prepared for that. Maybe this time that I introduce the notion of post-normal times. The Prime Minister has been repeating that for a while now. if I am correct again, starting from August 2023. Because I happen to have attended the opening event of the Malaysia Commercial Year, MCY, in August 2023. He started by saying that, I'm not going to read the speech prepared for me. I want to speak about post-normal times. He went on to speak about post-normal times and its relation to science, technology, and innovation. Wonderful. As it turned out, I happen to know the subject. I've been reading about it, so I wanted to pursue it. So I shared with my colleagues a number of books, which I can share with here, but it will take some time. They are all soft copy books. There are 5 books I would recommend you to read. So those who are not familiar with reading books, they get frightened about this. There are 3 books specifically on post-normal times, and 2 are related to that. One is Thomas Kuhn's famous book on the structure of scientific revolutions, which is fundamental, because it speaks about paradigm shifts. The other book is about systems thinking by Donald Meadows, Thinking in Systems. If you know the history of the limits to growth, Donella Meadows is the first author of 4, all MIT authors. The Club of Rome report is called. What the report is saying is that the growth, that was 1972 by the way, the growth cannot be sustained. Sooner or later, we will turn the earth into a wasteland. That was said 50 years ago. Now you're beginning to see what's happening. So let me just say that post-normal times is saying that we cannot continue on this path. What we've been doing until now with the norms that we accepted as the correct norms have become obsolete and irrelevant. What will replace these norms are new norms that do not exist yet. They are in the process of construction. So in between old norms and the future would-be norms, there is a space of instability. And according to the theory of post-normal times, there are 3 C's: complexity, chaos, contradictions. If you like the story, read the book. So I will move on to say that the IdeaXchange is meant to stimulate this sort of discussion for our common good. We bring to the table science and technology, because behind us, 1,000 scientists covering all fields. Of course, we can have more. But what's important is not the science itself, it's the will and the ability to execute. The political will must be there among ourselves, among the political masters, as well as our capacity to execute. So I want to say now that we have done this 39 times, now 39 today, and I happen to have been in 2 of them where I got into trouble. The first one I think was 2013 or something like that. There was a discussion on broadband penetration, which we knew was terrible in 2013. It's still terrible today, by the way, in my department. Anyway, I made some comments, and they said, "Oh, since you know so much about it, why didn't you do the paper?" So I was given the task of doing the paper. We did the paper quite well, and you know what happened? We tried to meet the minister, we tried to meet the MC, whatnot. Nobody wanted to meet us. This is Malaysia in denial. It's common story. So I don't worry about it. We have the report. We tell you the truth. We don't care. We are not here to please political masters. Second time, there was a discussion on the hydrogen economy. I think it was 2016 or something like that. The Petronas was there, Sarawak government was there, our scientists were there. I like the idea. Say, we better adopt this hydrogen economy for the zero transition. So after having said that, as we walk out of the room after the panel discussion, my colleague Wan Amli, who's an expert in hydrogen economy, told me, you've done policy work before, you better help us. Okay, I say, I'll do it. I was nobody at that time, just a fellow. As it turned out, in 2019, there was, of course, preparation for the 12 Malaysia plan. I took upon myself to attend the meetings. finally had to attend 7 meetings. And 2 of them had to be with the Minister of Economy at that time, Dr. Mustafa. And each time I opened my mouth, explain to me again what a hydrogen economy is. But of course, we got there. The policy was agreed. We came to the draft plan. And after that, we helped to develop the roadmap. So that is what this is all about. You will see many of these ideas later appearing surreptitiously, maybe overtly, coming from you. But it will be a long process. As I said, I must have to go to 7 meetings to get one paper into the system. It took a lot of effort. But that's our job. So here, I want to say that, again, say what you want to say. We are listening. I'm not here to prescribe. None of us is here to tell you what to do. You decide what you think is good for this region. NCIA are our partners, and they are going to help us to get it done. Yeah? And I have other colleagues, of course. 2 days ago, I was in Digital Penang, and our colleagues there, after discussion, gave me a very, I would say, candid comment. She said, it's a she, for the first time, I feel I've been heard. So all this time, you have not been heard? So this is the time you will be heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tengku. Now, let's begin our second agenda for today, the 39th IdeaXchange, titled Positioning Northern Corridor as a Hub of Global Smart Technologies. As an introduction, the IdeaXchange is a platform to bring together the scientific community, industry, academia, and civil society to discuss on a topical issue. Often, this discussion leads to exploration of new studies or initiatives to be carried out by ASM, which later transforms into the policy recommendation to the government. On its 39th occurrence today, we will discuss on the current technological landscape and strategic initiative on the Northern Corridor. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our moderator for today, Mr. Tan Eng Tong, founder from ET Partners. Mr. Tan is a leader in global tech industry. He pioneered DAT storage standards, co-founded a wireless infrared association, and launched the world's first data encrypted HDD. He mentors, advises startups, and consults globally, aiming to shape Penang into a tech hub. Without further ado, I would like to pass the session to Mr. Tan to lead the discussion. Mr. Tan, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to everyone here. I just want to also thank Tunku, Azman, and Puan Zami, and also our hosts from NCR for such great hospitality. I was here this morning, and I have to say I was very impressed by the interaction, presentation discussions that happened. And I hope we can continue this for today, this afternoon. And I want to just kind of set the scene for this afternoon's conversation. As Tengku Azman mentioned just now, ASM is actually here to listen. So the setup that we have today is really for 3 groups of people to give a macro perspective. One from industry, one from academia, and the third from government. Okay, so I'm going to facilitate the discussions where they are going to make the presentations. But the more important thing is the presentations are only to give a high-level picture. What we are going to do is have inputs from you. You can add to those what your observations are. You can question the presenters. And I would be kind of the referee to handle the questions. Okay, so without much ado, what I'm going to do is introduce each one of them as I call your name up. I'll do the introduction and you just come up. So the first, we would have Encik Muhammad Rizatuddin, Encik Riza. Encik Riza is the Director of Investment for NCIA. He oversees the development of the Northern Corridor, and he has the background of investment and economic development. But more importantly, he actually has also industry experience. So this is very important because without industry experience, we would just be doing things theoretically or academically. So he has worked in places like Oracle, Intel, data prep, and so on. Okay, so I won't go into too much of that. So, Jay Riza, thank you. Our second panelist is Dr. David Lacey. He holds the position of Director for R&D in AMS OSRAM. He obtained his DPhil in Chemistry and Science from University of Sussex. When we met last night, I'm told he's been here for more years than I've been in Penang, which is over 20 years. And with his 30 years experience in semiconductor and display technology and manufacturing, both in startup and MNC environments. Okay, he is also the chairman of FRIPENCA. FRIPENCA is the Penang Free Trade Zone Association for local companies. And he would have a very fantastic bird's eye view of what the industry needs. So we will hear from him later. And our final, last but not least, is Professor IR Dr. Sharel from USM. He has multiple degrees, BS, BNG, MEng, and DEng, that's diploma from none other than Kyushu Institute of Technology. So now here is a very international academician, but the more important one is also he has experience in industry. And previously he's been in Sony, and also worked in quite a few product development, which I won't go into. We'll probably hear from him later differently. So without much ado, I just want to introduce the panel, and thank you. So the first things I'm going to do is to ask Encik Riza to make his presentation before we go through all of them, and then we will have Q&A. So I want you to, as you look through, see how it relates to what your experience is, keep those questions, and then let's discuss that afterwards. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Can we flip the slides, please? Thank you, E.T., and a very well welcome, and thank you for staying on, post-lunch here in our homely abode of NCIA. Okay, things is slide changer. Okay, it's sloping down. Okay, all right. As E.T. has said, slide changer point. Okay. This is, sorry. This is to the back, right? Okay. All right. So as E.T. was saying, this is very high level, and I think here we're just having a conversation about what's happening in the north. So just as a backdrop, the northern NCR, Northern Corridor Economic Region that consists of from all the way from Tanjung Malim up to Padang Besar, it's quite a distance, more than 1,000 kilometers upwards. but also the breadth of it. It has a slew of history, vibrancy, and a lot of things that has evolved in the last 50 years. I think I may have to hold this. I'm not going to read on the slides, but what it's trying to was trying to say that it's effectively, it's home to a lot from the 8 samurais that came here in the 70s, as Datuk Tengku was saying, how Tuan Lim Chong Yu brought Penang to a global stage, but also to say that how in the last 50 years we have evolved. And I was recruited, just a bit of history. I was recruited in the US by the Intellists to basically ramp up Intel at that time, right? So pretty much there was a entourage that went through many of the US organizations, universities, looking both at the universities and also outside the universities to ramp up very core skills for Intel at that time. At that time, Intel was moving from 386 to 486. Pentium was bigger than a tile, right? And of course, it was still very nascent. Internet was not even heard of at that time. But in '93, when I came into Intel as the year I graduate, is effectively when internet all started, right? Netscape communications came into a big bang and a fad, all right? Mark Anderson and the 2 other founders, really took, VCs coming into a startup and trying to, change the world at that point in time. So I guess by going into Intel at that point in time is to see what this manufacturing was all about. Again, Robert Noyce, and we had, what do you call that? The founders of Intel, pretty much are saying Morse, no, the other one, the Budapest guy, huh? No, Robert Moore is, yeah. Well, he was saying effectively the transistors will actually kill itself and it goes on a hockey stick. But what Intel did well, not that I'm, marketing Intel here, is copy exact. They will do everything predictable, right? And very strict discipline, very strict regime. You are married to your machine because productivity output is key. We get shouted for having things which are effectively, failure or out of range. They want 99% productivity or output. Yeah. So that was my first glance into real life about how this regimen really works. Yeah. So I think that sets the tone about the discipline in this region, particularly Penang and the industry over here. And then it was driven pretty much like a military and by fear, right? But moving on, I would say, the supply of the workers and all that, there's so much that you can regiment and drill into a group that they will not get into a burnout position. And then that's what happened also for a lot of us, right? Some stayed on, some will stay effectively maybe 5 years or maximum 10, and then they say they have to make a change, right? So why I'm saying all that is key is because you need fresh talent all the time. But you need fresh talent who really understands also a bit of history and where is going forward. And sometimes that is a bit blurry, right? And that's where in whatever position you're trying to play, we're trying to really infuse things that people may not have that belief system, as what Tengku was having to say last night, right? How do we really encourage? Then fast forward, I think 10 years or about 11 years after that, when I met Tengku and my late chairman, Tan Sri Othman Yop, is also on a new vision at that point in time, in '96, when they pitched, right, at Stanford University about the multimedia super corridor, right? Again, a lot of the silicon players were there and saying, what's this all about? What is Malaysia's next game plan? And then the 7 flagships came about, what we want to transform the world, right? So that took quite a number of years into fruition. So fast forward another 10 to 15 years is also looking at in 2003, upon the Tun Mahathir's departure as Prime Minister and Pak Lah took in as the next premier, he said, okay, we have to make the country a bit more equitable, hence the formation of the corridors. Yeah, so 2003, 2004, after the 2004 election, and then what happened was IRDA in Johor started first. Then in 2008, Eastern Corridor and Northern Corridor came into being to help the states now look at, let's sing one song, let's work together. There are differences, yes, there are different various nuances, there's different strengths, but come together in how you build this social and economic development. And that's where we're here today. Although the Northern Corridor is in its 15th year, I think this year is 16th year, right, into being, there is always a roadmap. Now, this roadmap is not done in a vacuum. There was a lot of consultation that has happened, what we call the SDP, the Strategic Development Plan for the region. And this is, we have gone through stakeholder engagement with Perak, Penang, Kedah, Perlis to come and refine, right? Of course, with the federal parent, which is we are part of the EPU then, and now Ministry of Economy. So it's a long document, more than about 100 over pages, but just this snapshot to give you a framework about what we meant by the key word up there, growth with equity. We want to grow, but it has to be equitable and also sustainable and mean fair. All right? So you have those technology, not technology, key pillar outcomes from achieving balanced, sustainable economic growth, all the way of how you also help the community here to increase the household income. Because we're still far from the parity of Selangor and Klang Valley, right? So again, the gravitation in the year early 2000 is a lot of people or youngsters or graduates will flock either to Penang or flock to Klang Valley, leaving pockets of void within parts of the country. And that's where the corridor is come to play, to balance the socio-economic development. Yeah. So long story short is we are looking at how digital and of course the new thing that has, it's not actually new, but it's new to Malaysia in terms of really looking at it seriously, the environment, social and governance, the ESG. Right now, before this, I also need to declare that I was, 3.5 years in the United Nations. So I actually see how things over there are working. Now, the so-called SDGs was being embraced and agreed by member states in 2015, which took 3.5 years prior to that of a global consultation on what you want to do to save the world from destruction. Right? We're not close. The world is really killing us. We are killing the world, actually, almost every other month or every other year. So it's a scary thought. So that's where even during COVID, in the 2020 time, the Secretary General, the current Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, put up basically an action to basically accelerate. All right? But the world was held to a grinding halt. But what did help is there was not much movement, so pretty much our environment came to 2 notches down. But by 2021, everything went haywire back again, right? So at that point in time is where the COP, right, the Conference of Party for Climate, was actually once in 3 years or once in 2 years. Now it becomes every year. And the largest one that just happened in Dubai last year, all right, trying to achieve something which is looking at many pillars. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is we cannot do things in a vacuum, all right? Digitization has been around. We've been, 15 years ago, we talked about innovation, how innovation, digitalization will actually help the society here. How does it trickle down? I mean, you just look at your immediate parents. They are afraid of doing things over the phone, right? Paying bills, doing online banking is a scary thing to them. My parents are. They always say, please help me because I don't know we don't get our bills. We don't get things in the mailbox anymore, all right? So at some point is also, we will come to that point in time, we have to constantly remind us we have to learn with the times. Otherwise, we're stuck in one era. And our children will always be fretting and say, why are you not understanding this, right? So it's also to teach our kids, all right, please be patient with us. You know, we used to be impatient with our parents, but we knew that, but they also have to be patient with us how we move forward. Why I say that is because I see this a lot happening, a lot of resistance, yeah. So even up in this corridor, people are grappling. They are actually really afraid what all this development is going to take them, all right? Whether they'll still have a place to stay, whether they can go and do the stuff that they used to love, you know, and right, a lot of it is, 2 minutes, okay, is pretty much gone, yeah? So I don't have many slides, but what I'm going to say is pretty much, this one I'll share with you, this is just a strategy of how we work together. But the things that we do, and I think this one is already being said, this is not first time. For first time people, if you're first time looking at this, we can also take it offline, but it's also on our website. Effectively, the programs that we do to help, right? So largely as a federal agency, we help the states, help industry, help entrepreneurs on how, as a catalyst to help you to do better, all right? We are pretty much connecting the dots, right? And we're very happy to have universities, industry associations, and I think a lot of the conversations that happened within this week and also in many days for us together is how we can actually come together as building blocks and assist for you to do the business and also to innovate and survive, you know, for the long term, what's for the long play. So Antic here and CER Technology Innovation Center, it's not new, all right? But in RMK12, when we got financial assistance to actually help the industry, what we're looking is a couple of building blocks. We're looking for, which is strong within the top sector here, which is E&E, semiconductor, all right? We're also looking at digital services. Although the MSc has phased out of looking at just software, and then software as a service and everything that comes with that. But digital services today is becoming commoditized, right? But it's needed. It's already your next pillar next to water, electricity, and sewage, right? Digital services comes in. The only thing is you don't get one bill, right? I think that's the next thing that how Singapore has done. You get one bill, everything, and you don't have to pay all over the place, all over town, yeah? So that's more of a business decision how we can gravitate towards something to make it more easy. But here you see look at the program partners there from MPC, the Semiconductor Association, and now we're also looking at the pillar of aerospace. Aerospace has been around for a while, all right? And when with Maya and MChem, we did an avionics aerospace workshop. And it was very lively. To say that pretty much where Asia is going, just like this morning, I think when we had the MIMOS, a person that said the raw materials, almost more than 50 or 60% is coming from Asia, right? Plus China, right? Likewise, looking at pillars of aerospace, a lot is coming here. Yes, it's being proponent and designed by the big guys, right? There's the Boeings of the day, the Airbus, or even the Collin Aerospace. So Antic here aspires to help companies to be able to have higher upskill sets and how we can work together to build competencies that will take you. So in Malaysia, you have Sprint Aerospace, you have a lot of Amaro players, but we now want to catalyze and have more avionics players. All right. So what's avionics? Just as Tengku was saying as definition, avionics is a computer. What a computer that you have on your desk, but it's 10 times more. All right. 10 times more, not just in price, but in complexity, in durability, and be able to, not like we in 18 months, you have to change it. All right. That's a business model actually. So people will still decommoditalize their own product so that you buy more. But in aerospace, it needs to withstand a certain time. But once you do it, you have 25 years of life of being sustained, doing one thing right and doing it very well repeatedly. So that's what we want to catalyze for this region, to have that kind of pockets of core capabilities that's able to serve not just Malaysia, but the world, right? Of course, in this geopolitical, challenges, now semiconductor is coming in a big way, all right? It's spiking up because it's the fourth quarter. I think the age was already saying about 15.5% year-on-year growth that's happening this year already. But then don't discount the other sectors, because the underlying for any of the others, and I think as Mimo's chap was saying this morning, is also semicon. New materials, new ways of packaging, advanced packaging of these chips, right? And as shockingly as Jensen Wong has said in NVIDIA, everybody's been following him, I suppose. He says at the end of the day, your data centers will be gone. You just can have a table and it can actually power a whole country. Yeah, it will get to that point with the amount of food. But people have to figure out what kind of power is needed for something of that nature. All right. With that, I thank you. So you can catalyze a conversation. All right. Thanks. This thing is.
Okay, that user interface is so good, we cannot find the button to switch it on. So thank you very much, Riza. Our next speaker is none other than Dr. David Lacey. So I'll ask him to come up to the podium to give his introduction.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I think in discussions like these, we often talk about problems and difficulties and areas where we need to improve. And of course, that's important. But I want to remind everyone that we're all in the middle of a fantastic Malaysian success story, right? And we're all part of it. And either now or in the future, you will be telling your grandchildren that you were part of this, right? So it's a fantastic period we're in, and it's a huge success and a continuing one. So I'm David Lacey. I work for AMS Osram in R&D, but I'm also president of FreePenka. So FreePenka may be the world's worst acronym. And it actually stands for the Free Industrial Zone Penang Companies Association. And what that is the companies which operate in the free trade zones, and it's mostly the manufacturing companies and the companies which are exporting from the Penang area. FreePenka was formed in 78. You know the story of the company starting in 72. And so by 78, they realized they needed to get themselves organized. And they got together then. And I think one of the early success stories or impacts of FreePenka was the building of the fire station in that area. Because there was no resources or facilities in that zone back then. And then it's expanded from those original free trade zones to cover Batu Kawan and other of the tax-free areas. And it's not just electronics, it's also medical, logistics, mechanical, materials, you name it, all the companies in those free trade zone areas. Got to press longer, have I? Okay. And so this is just a snapshot of the types of companies which which are in the Free Penka organization. So that's by no means a complete list, but just gives you an idea of the large scatter. So large international names that you know, and small, more local companies as well. Am I doing it wrong? Ah, okay. And we're in this period of explosive growth, right? So since the pandemic and the advent of the trade war, Malaysia is hugely benefiting from both those things. And I just wanted to take some snapshots of the different activities. So Intel's announcement of a fantastically huge advanced packaging fab, Micron expanding its activities in Malaysia, Dexcom building their first medical facility here in Batu Kawan, B. Brown, who's been around for a long time, but expanding. Sam, just along the street here, expanding production, and even companies like Project, which is a local startup company, supplying rapid prototyping services to industry. So all of this is happening in this recent period. And can you go back? It comes with some growing pains, right? So as a side effect of all that growth and success, we put stress upon the environment and the infrastructure that we work in. And as Free Penka, we have a role to try and address those issues. And those issues are the ones we all know. But I think it's very important, to keep reminding us that the road network, the transportation systems, are really affecting productivity of the companies around Penang. And for you all, in terms of work-life balance, spending more than an hour or whatever commuting each day is not the smartest idea. So we've got to do something about transport infrastructure. Water. We're still reliant on a single source. Maybe the Mengkuang Dam will help us out in the short term, but actually, majority of the pipe infrastructure, there's only one pipe, yeah? And the Water Authority is currently running a maintenance strategy, which is fix it when it breaks, right? So the whole network is fragile, and we are loading it more and more. And the risk that something breaks unexpectedly is large and will affect all of us. So there's good long-term action started in terms of this announcement of a Perak water treatment plant. But let's not forget the network, right? So having sources is fantastic, but we also need a water supply network which is rugged and reliable, and the one we have has shown some weaknesses in the recent past. And then electricity. The overall supply of electricity, call it old-fashioned brown energy, is not in short supply, no issue in Malaysia. But the quality of the supply, especially at the lower voltages, which most of our factories use, is not that great, actually. And that's due to maintenance. That's nothing fundamental. It's not like the actual power station is going up and down. The power station is very stable, rock steady. And the high voltage network is rock steady. But as it comes down to lower voltages, you use a network, an infrastructure, which is old and aging. And as a result, things happen. And, I like to say, you can't do Industry 4.0 without semi F47. So semi F47 is the standard for power supply quality in the semiconductor industry. And if you really want to computerize your manufacturing, you better be confident that the power is stable, because every time the power goes down, all of your computers and robots will be rebooting, right? So the whole concept of us all moving in the direction of advanced technologies requires infrastructure, that in this case, electricity supply. So I know these might be somewhat boring topics, but they're important to all of us. We're growing, it's growing all around us. We're putting more and more demand on these. It's not just a question of maintaining. So the power supply from 1972 is not adequate for 2024 and beyond, right? So we actually need to persuade those infrastructure providers to upgrade their systems to be ready for I 4.0, for instance, right? So we're not talking about maintenance alone. We're talking about upgrading, and we're talking about redundancy. So these are topics in the background, but they worry us. The traffic one we all see, the water one we saw recently, and I think if I talk to some of the manufacturing guys, the electricity one causes us pain probably once a month at least. So these things are all there, and these are all areas where we could improve. It's just a question of some investment, and we're not talking necessarily massive numbers. We're just talking about some investment in the infrastructure. So now I want the next slide, which is the other side of things which is changing is the people of Malaysia, the generations of Malaysia now don't want to work in the way that the generations before did. And this is something which industry needs to wake up to. So industry needs to recognize and change to embrace the expectations of the workers of the 21st century. And this is something where Fripenka is talking to its members and trying to encourage them to adopt flexible working hours, working from home, those types of things, in order to be ready for those things. And many of the companies are concerned about the threats from Vietnam, from India, from Thailand and the like. And the reality is, as was said earlier, we've got to change. And going back to what I said at the start, we're in a fantastic position to build on what we have and to change. I'm pressing the button, but nothing's happening. Okay. So companies which started off making mechanical spare parts are moving into making own brand equipment. So the equipment industry is taking off here in Malaysia, and moving up the value chain as a result. The materials engineers are coming out of some of the multinationals and starting up their own materials companies to provide the stuff which is required by industry. The medical consumable guys are moving in the direction of health systems and IoT-enabled systems. So they're moving away from plastic molding and things like that into electronics and smart healthcare topics. The precision equipment guys are moving into the aerospace sector. The mechanical design guys are turning themselves into industrial design studios, right? So they're moving up the value chain again. Freight forwarding is becoming integrated logistics. And old-fashioned commodity chip packaging is becoming a system in package OEM type business. So in all cases, the companies in the Fripenka and in the area of Penang are changing, and they are moving up the value chain into more valuable parts of business. And as they do so, they need the other dimension of infrastructure and resource, talent, right? So the jobs change and the expectations on our employees in the areas of innovation and advanced engineering are changing. And this is working quite well, but this is an area where we need support from the university network, the college network, the TVET institutions, the research institutes, MOSTI and MITI, to ensure that the education and talent to support companies doing those things is available. And it's not a narrow thing. It's a very broad thing. The skills you need to do those things are across the whole spectrum of science and technology. So it's not like you need to be good in just one space. You need to be good, or the universities need to be good in generating talent across the entire spectrum of science and technology to enable the companies to be able to move up the value chain. So as I say, I think it's a success, a big success. The situation is always challenging, but Malaysia is well prepared. We always underestimate the value of tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge, the ability of the people of Penang State to assist a company in setting up a new manufacturing facility and produce a high quality output. We underestimate. If you try to do the same thing in Vietnam or India, you realize that tacit knowledge is not there. You can't just give people the work instructions and your factory starts to work. It really doesn't work that way. So that tacit knowledge we have here in Malaysia is undervalued and an extreme differentiator compared to other countries in the region. I'll stop there. Let's discuss further.
Thank you, Dr. Lacey. I think that's a couple of ahas there from your presentation about electricity and about tacit knowledge. I think we can kind of develop that a bit further for the discussion later. Last but not least is Professor Shahril from USM. Let's see what he has to say from the academic side.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Very good afternoon. Salam sejahtera. For my talk today, I will basically talk about USM. I mean, it's going to be at the point of view from academic side. So I believe that maybe, let me ask you one question. How many of you graduated from USM? Oh, okay. Great. Okay. I may see that because of we are in Penang. So I strongly believe that a lot of professionals working in Penang are from USM. Okay, great to know that. So without further ado, let me introduce. So I will basically go into very brief what we have for semicon industries. And then maybe I'm going to talk a bit more details about what we are doing now in helping semicon industries. Or in other words, what are we doing now to produce talents that comply to industries? Okay. First of all, this is the vision of USM, transforming higher education for a sustainable tomorrow. So for those who have graduated from USM, I believe that you have seen this, but most probably you don't really understand what is the meaning of this. But this is basically whatever that we do at USM, establishing curriculums in our teaching, in fact, development of students. All what we do is going towards this direction to transform higher education for a sustainable tomorrow. And just to let you all know, for those who do not know about this, so USM is currently number 4 in the world in terms of sustainability. So this is an achievement. I think it's already like 2 years, 2 consecutive years, and we are trying our best to make sure at least we are still at number 4. But this is at the world level. It's not that easy, right? Okay, for signals too fast. All right. Now, recently, Ministry of Higher Education has appointed or has recognized USM for these 4 areas. The first one is satellite technology, cancer research, semiconductor, and the 4th one is sustainability. So because of in Malaysia, we have about 20 public universities. So what we need to do is each university is given with niche area, and these are given to USM. And in today's talk, I will focus on semiconductor. But when we talk about satellite technology, so we are now working together with Angkasa X, okay, to have a base in engineering campus. So this should be a base to collect data coming for a satellite, low orbit satellite. So that is the satellite technology. And cancer research is being done in, we call it IPPT campus. This IPPT campus is Institute Perubatan dan Pergigian Termaju. Okay, so this is looking after diseases which are not covered by our campus in Kelantan. So, but in general, so the focus is on medical applications. So that will be cancer research. I just want to talk about, for this cancer research, one group at USM, at IPPT, or in English we call it AMD. They are well known to do research, and they managed to secure a few cancer patients. And this is basically to look after cancers in tongue and throat. Okay, so ENT related. And they have produced some recent findings, and it has been proven that their research findings managed to secure some patients. Okay, so that is for cancer research. And for semiconductor, so I'm from School of EE, School of Electrical and Electronics, so we are doing a lot of things. Because of when we talk about EE, Penang, I believe that is currently number 1 in Malaysia. So there are a lot of things being done for this EE. One of them is to produce a program called Industry Infused Program. So that will be also covered at the last of my slide. And finally, sustainability. So as I mentioned, so we are number 4 in the world. So we have to make sure that sustainability is one of the important items that we need to consider in everything at USM, including teaching. So if you become academicians at USM, even in your curriculum development, you have to consider sustainability. So when we design a new curriculum, so all these elements must be considered. So related to semiconductor, we have 2 centers directly related to semicon, which is, the first one is INO. INO is Institute of Nano Optoelectronics Research and Technology, and this is considered as a center of excellence. It has been recognized as high COE recently, and that is focusing on making device or research in device, looking after before it becomes an IC. Okay, so this is a nano optoelectronics. It is in the main campus, okay, in the main island. And then we have another one, which is CDEC, which is Collaborative Microelectronics Design Excellence Center. And this center focuses on IC design. So before we go into the device, there will be one center, which is this CDEC. And CDEC is not covering only USM, but CDAC is covering the whole entire Malaysia for IC design. And we have another one, which is the National IPv6 Center. So this is a national center, also a center of excellence, which covers reasonably more towards cybersecurity. And currently, the name is a National IPv6 Center. I think in another few months, it's going to be a new center, the same center, but since the focus is on cybersecurity, so the name will change into Research Center for Cybersecurity. So at USM, we have Science at USM. So if you go to our main campus, just in front of the bridge, right? You may notice that that is the main campus. But maybe being a student, most probably do not realize that we have another one, which is called Science at USM. And this is located at Bukit Jambul. Okay, Bukit Jambul. And this is considered as a research park. And these are the companies, okay, allocated in Bukit Jambul, including CDAC, as well as INO. Okay, if you see CDAC up there, and then INO. So this one, these are our high COE or high Center of Excellence. And here we also have CRES. So for those who have projects with CRES or dealing with CRES, so we may find CRES over there as well. And there are a few more companies allocated here in Bukit Jambul. So at Science USM, it is divided into three technology clusters: IC design, which is covered by CDAC, nano-optoelectronics by INO, and another one is life sciences, which is covered by, you call it ACBR. Okay, and there is one big building. If you go to Bukit Jambul, you may see this building. It is called I2U. And those companies, including Opstar Berhad, Nexperia, so they are allocated here. Okay, they are located here in this building. So there are about few more space available in this I2U. So if you're interested, you may go and check whether it is, if I'm not mistaken, maybe floor number 5 to 6, we still have space. And a lot of companies coming to this, startup companies or spin-off companies, and covering semicon industries. It's not working. Okay, all right. We also working directly with industries. So we have, this is the first university in industry lab. So university, usually the industry will be in the university, but this one is industry in, university in industry. So it is called USM CIA Lab. So WD has spent about 3 million for this project. So it is still ongoing. And then for CDAC, recently CDAC, so that is the one that manage IC design or looking at IC design research. So for this center, CDAC, recently they have a collaboration with TSMC. I believe that for those who are doing IC design or IC related project, so this is one of the success story by CDAC. So there is a collaboration, and it goes until the level of 16 nanometer. So apart from that, to make sure that we produce quality engineers in the future related to semicon, so we launched this Mohe Research and Industry Infused Incubator, MRI3, and only yesterday we had a launching session for the portal for MRI3. So for your information, this MRI3 initiated in 2022 by School of EE, and then it has been upgraded, accepted by Mohe. Now it becomes Mohe Research and Industry Infused Incubator, MRI3. And currently we have 30 industries under this MRI3. And based on these 30 industries, we have about 500 plus students demand from these 30 industries. what we do in this MRI3 is students start project with industry at the end of their third year. So when they go for internship, they will be trained by the industry, and we want that project to be brought back to university, and they will continue that project as FYP, final year project. And while doing this, they will play around with all the tools from industry. And thank you very much for industry. For those industry who are involved in this, they support the student in terms of allowance, and they also provide tools, including software. And some of the students from, let's say, project coming from Opstar, they are given with laptops. And in the laptops, they can access to certain servers so that they can do IC design. So in 2024 and 2025, we're expecting to have about 500 students. So within 3 years, it increased from 40 to 120, and then it increased now. The demand is 500 plus. So students can now register their names and their interest in our portal, and it can be found mri3.com.usm.my. So finally, I'm going to into USM Engineering Campus. So for Engineering Campus, we have about, next. Okay, so this is the current, how it looks, because of a bit difficult for us to get visitors coming to Engineering Campus. Okay, so this is the current look. So we have about 700 staff, okay, at Engineering Campus, and about 4,000 students. And within this, there are 6 of engineering schools at Engineering Campus, consisting of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, materials and mineral resources, electrical, electronics, aerospace, and chemical engineering. So if you're interested, so we have, a lot of programs running now to make sure that our talents are complying with requirements from industry. So if you're interested, maybe later on we're going to have like more explanations, more information coming from me, so that our aim is to make sure that whoever comes to USM, they will go out with jobs. So I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, wow, thank you very, very much. So there we have it, a quick summary run through of our 3 sectors. What I'm going to do is open this up for questions. And before we are thinking about the questions, let me try to summarize what we have in Penang area, in the northern region. So we just heard, okay, Prof. Sharil talk about what USM is doing to actually develop talent. Okay, I'm actually quite impressed with the list of things that you have in place. I think the details, I'm going to ask you if you have questions about those details, please hold it and we will bring that up. So that's the talent side, right? Dr. Lacey was giving us some interesting challenges from industry. One is that, in a broad brush, the industry itself is evolving. So first of all, we have already got 50 years of experience in the industry, and many of these companies are evolving. And they are going, and he used the word tacit expertise, that we have, that if you are another country that's just building up in the last 5 years, you won't have that same background, okay? So we also need to feed that and make sure that talent pipeline is strong. Not only the existing, or at least the high profile discussions that people are talking about on semicon and AI and so on, that I think is also needed. We talked about that this morning on advanced packaging, on different materials. So we've got that picture from industry. And also, we have J. Riza, who was basically talking to us about what his organization is doing to drive innovation. It's very broad-based and quite a lot of things. I'm sure you'll have questions about things that you are interested in. So I'm going to open to the floor what questions you might want to pose. So who wants to? Okay, we also have. Belum ada lagi, okay. So we also have people participating on Facebook. So I just want to say hello to the Facebook participants. You have questions, you can post them on the comments and bring them up too. Remember, the topic that we are doing here is ASM is asking for this region, this group of people, to identify for them. There are probably no perfect answers right now. Maybe some of them already have answers for themselves that they can share, but no guarantees on the answers itself. So they're collecting, ASM's collecting, and so let's listen, let's hear what you have. I'm gonna just have a few minutes silent time. Question, okay, right. First question coming up, Cik Fauzan.
Okay, start the ball rolling. Thank you, all three of you. I quote something that YB Liu Chuntong said when about 2 months back in Sirim. So the whole entire MITI fraternity was there, and he said at Sirim, we had a missed opportunity of making an E3 in Malaysia. I3 kan, ITRI. So I heard the antique model. I know the industry have been here for 50 years. We know the university is trying to do something, especially like CDEC, small scale. All of which, in sum up, could not scale or become impactful that we wish. It is still a smaller scale, a bit of, we do things here and there sporadically, including crash model. Crash model pun kecil, small. So we have crash model, we have antique trying to say we want to do greater things. We have CDEC, which is only small, but we want to do something larger. We could barely touch like a very super COE or an international level. What is stopping us? Why are we not there yet?
Okay, so before I give this to J. Rizal first, okay, just want to make sure everybody understands. ITRI stands for the industry, ITRI, right? Yeah, is a research organization in Taiwan that has been really powering the way semicon is actually researched and developed in Taiwan. Many people attribute many of the things that's happening in Taiwan as a result of the cooperation and collaboration by industry in there.
You hold this so that the wireless.
You want to start with that? Oh, wireless mic. Use this one dulu lah. No, wireless mics. Okay, you want to use that one? No, you can. Okay.
All right, it's thank you, Fauzan. It's a big question because I think to be politically correct may not be the flavor of the day, but just looking from history, I mean, we're just too polarized, right? In terms of, when I say polarized, the government needs to say that, okay, let's look at one thing and do one thing good for 20 years, right? Otherwise, we're going with this 5-year cycle. Everybody will be gunning, trying to say, I can do this in 5 years and give you the output results you want, all right? Which is piecemeal, right? So the long play needs to happen yesteryears, yeah? So like ITRI, like myself, I think before we had an ITRI representative during the semiconductor conference, I think in early April. Yeah, so his position is not just about the government, it's also how they work with private sector to make that really a tough nut which means there's a milestone that needs to be achieved. If it doesn't achieve, then the survivability or the longevity of E3 for after that threshold is in question, right? So I think that's a model that we have to look as a country, that it will put you on your toes, or the group on your toes. It brings people together with minimal safety net. Yeah, because I think making it a success is not an option. It has to be made. Yeah. So to answer you, that is effectively from the government and from industry. I think like all of us here can say, if you want to do something for Malaysia, they need to look beyond the 5-year cycle.
If I can add that, I think if you go back 5 years or so, I don't believe that the Malaysian government was focused on the semiconductor industry, and in fact, quite the opposite. I heard a lot that it was low value add manufacturing, and it wasn't so interesting anymore, and quite difficult to work with government for many years. And if there was one positive of the pandemic, it was that it was a wake-up call for the Malaysian government on the importance of the semiconductor and electronics industry. And now you see, for instance, MITI's focus on it. So I think in answer to your question, lack of focus, I think was the problem in the past. But I really believe now there is, at all levels of government, a recognition that there's a golden nugget there with the semiconductor industry, as we just talked about, and there's a great opportunity to develop it.
Thank you. Prof. Shahril, any comments from your side?
Well, this is only my personal point of view, because of maybe I look at it as our policy, because of I've been in the industry, now in the government, because of when you are in government, like previous years, you really have to be careful on the scope of what you're doing. So I believe that is actually the constraint that you need to me, a constraint that you need to follow. Like, let's say I give you one example. When I was visiting this university in Japan, when this university, because university usually will go into fundamentals and look at helping the industries to solve fundamental problems, and based on that, then they will suggest and combine with industry to come up with new technology. Okay, fine. The thing here is why in Malaysia it's very, very difficult for industries to come, because of in those years, as what I think Dr. Lacey had mentioned, we were focusing more towards first manufacturing, and whoever graduated, you can come and train, and then that is the engineers. And therefore, when we have sort of like when we try to produce our own technology, I don't think it can happen, because of it only works something like you are working alone. But in today's scenario, like what happened yesterday, even two ministries have already worked together, KPT, MOE, and MITI. So now working together, and I believe that there are some other departments, ministries are working closely with each other to make sure that it's not only like whatever you want to develop, let's say under KPT, only focusing on KPT territories, but actually we have to work together with MOSTE, MITI, and in fact nowadays with Kesuma to make sure that talents are all. So I mean, I believe that we are moving towards a good direction, but maybe those years that is maybe hinder us from getting all this technology being. And another thing is because of policy. This actually I've gone through, and a lot of universities, when we have technologies being produced at university, it happened to me. We cannot go beyond that, because of some universities have policy saying that you are a lecturer, you're a government servant, you cannot form a company, or you cannot further enhance your product. So it depends on the university. So as nowadays for USM, if we work together with industries, we solve the problem. It's no issue anymore to form a startup or a spin-off. So we can do this. So with the hope that one day within these 5 years ahead, we may see that a lot of even Malaysian companies, local companies, as well as MNCs can work together to produce technology coming from Malaysia. Thank you.
Okay, I just did a quick Google search. ITRI stands for Industrial Technology Research Institute. So I think the name tells a lot. It's industrial technology. It actually means not driven by government. In fact, the way it's created is industry itself from Taiwan got together and said, we cannot depend on anybody except our own colleagues. Let's down our weapons and work together to protect ourselves. And as they kind of build themselves up, then there is a reason for the government to get involved. Correct? Ah, thank you. Yeah. So I think it's really about industry getting together. So I've actually been hearing quite a lot since I came back to Malaysia. We, in the general we tend to kind of look at and wait for if the government doesn't help. Buat apa lah? So I think we need to get out of this entitlement approach because the good example is ITRI. In fact, I use that example for industry. So really, all of you, if you've got companies that you're bosses, they must be prepared to do something together. Once you do something, you agree to do something together, then other things happen. And this is where I kind of see working with Tengku and Wan Hazami. The reports that I participate in is actually about what is the technology, what can we do, how can anyone do something about it. Don't wait for somebody who's worried about their job every 4 or 5 years because your timeline doesn't work that way. So I would say, I think we need to start thinking as Tengku earlier in his keynote just now, we need to think of something out of the box. I'm using the word out of the box, but it has to be a different kind of thinking. The thinking that got us here is not going to take us to where we want to go. So anyway, so I just kind of give my view on that a little bit, and that's where I think ASM, when they collect the data, one of the things we have to do is figure out how to work together. So I would just want to pass it back to Fauzan. Any subsequent questions or comments you want to make?
I don't have any further additional, but I think one of the reasons is an FDI mentality. Okay, I believe it so happened for the last 50 years we were trapped in the FDI mentality. FDI mentality means investment comes, job creation comes, GDP numbers are celebrated, but the value creation on the technology was missed out. We do, but we didn't do to the degree that we amalgamated the effort, bring various parties together and created something. So currently DDI is also leading. So in the new going forward, like Prof said and Dr. David Lacey said, with the new focus on semiconductor and extracting the right value. So Intel is going to invest, let's say, 30 billion on advanced packaging.
32.
Not only the investment need to come in, yes, the ripple effect of technology, how technology is further cultivated, all these things we have to relook at it instead of just receiving. I believe that mentality probably we need to transcribe it a little bit better.
Okay. Another question? Okay, one over there. Cindy, right? That's your name?
Cindy, whichever. It sounds
Siti.
almost
So sorry.
it sounds almost the same.
I just changed your name.
Okay, Citibank. Yeah, Cindy. It's okay. So it's interesting. We have this, like conversation now. And I remember that Prof. Tengku mentioned about post-normal times, and Dr. David Lacey mentioned about, challenges in talent or human capital and knowledge and things like that. It makes me wonder, how can we do better during these post-normal times? Given that, some people, like for me, I'm from academia. So people keep telling, okay, academia needs to work harder to make the content more interesting, more, up to date. When even in academia, our systems are just like what Dr. David Lacey mentioned. How about the electricity facility? It's from 1972 and need to be upgraded. And our facility in our university is also, some of them are like that kind of long, like 15, 20 years ago kind of technology. And yet we need to, like teach the students with new knowledge and things like that. So how can all of us actually work together, not only from the university, but also government agency like CER, as well in industry like Fra Penka, yeah.
Yes, Vapenka.
Yeah, Fra Penka. How can we all collaborate in a way that, these post-normal times, especially in the human capital part of it, making the students are still interested in science, still interested to, work the way all the industry wants them to. So how do you foresee that? What's the way forward? Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So, given we need to go to the new normal, we also need to pump the pipeline at the beginning. How do we start the source of the pipeline and make sure we have the right things going through the pipeline, because it might take a while, but let's figure out that you need to do that too. Okay. You want to take that, David? Yes, go ahead.
If I can start, I showed how companies are changing and they're moving up the value chain. Are they doing that out of choice? Actually, sometimes no. They're doing it because their old business is threatened and disappearing, so they're forced to change. So this change is happening, but it's happening under because of some external threat or some reduction in business. So part of what we need to do is we all need to share that fear, that uncertainty, that need to change, right? So ultimately, whether you're the electricity company maintenance guy or the education institution construction guy or the head of curriculum, change, right? We can't do the same as we were doing last year, and that drive for change in industry is driven just by the commercial realities. It's not. We're not changing just because we like change. We're changing because it's survival, and maybe other parts of the infrastructure don't have that same survival fear to drive change, which is often uncomfortable and challenging and difficult. But the pressure to change, we need to somehow share better, right? So you asked what Fripenka can do. We need to engage better with educational institutions, for instance, to explain what's different from last year, what we need now, why it's important, what the opportunities are, if it can be done, those things.
Anybody? Okay.
Again, out of the box, right? And I think we're talking about talent. So the stuff that you just said, how do you make things interesting for your students since you're in academia? and also Prof was talking about you got to comply with rules. These are the two things that I think has been debated over many years. Okay, today, how students learn is not like how it was 15, 20 years ago. All right, how do you keep it really fresh, really engaging? So, example, I think many of you or who have known, there's a lot of way you do online learning, right? So, when online learning came and when we were in the MSc, they're saying, how do people benefit this? Online learning, it took a long time for MOHE or KPTKT to look at how do you, or even MQA, recognizing it, right? But for those who are in the workplace, I mean, today, you can do LinkedIn learning, all right? There is modules which are made into bite sizes because people now don't tend to read. They tend to listen and look at snippets of information and they remember that, right? Yeah, so even for my children, you ask them to read a book, they'll take a long time to say, okay, I finished that and this is what it means. They won't remember 50 pages or 30 pages of one chapter. We had to plow through chapter. We did a lot of highlighting, side notes, all right? Kids of today don't do that. They listen, they look at video and stuff. What I'm trying to say is, it's happening, but it's happening in other places. It's already happening in the workplace. That's how LinkedIn pivoted for LinkedIn learning. Pay per subscription, pay per use. All right? So even universities are doing that. Towards the late 90s, when I graduated, early 90s I graduated, but the late 90s, University of Urbana-Champaign started the first, and other universities followed when they created a program called social engineering. Now, so it's not you coming to class, right? There are certain modules as an engineer that you have to learn, but the rest you learn vocationally. But you're tested on how you perform in the industry. So it's like having an internship almost every semester that you are enrolled from that program. So like my son and my daughter, and it's again personal anecdote here, is a lot of what they are learning at school is not just in the class, right? It's online and it's also empirical out there that they have to do. It's how the instruction of the curriculum is designed to say this is the holistic there. So the weightage is almost even, that you have to do well on all these different components. So as you become or would be an adult, you are now entrusted to take charge of your own learning, right? If you don't, it's on you. Then you have to wait the next cycle to ensure that you get the passing mark needed. And that is already happening, and it also needs to happen here.
Prof, you want to say a few words?
Let me, because when we talk about Thailand, I believe that you're from university as well? Okay. Well, as we all know, for those who have graduated, especially from engineering background from local universities, from USM, one of them, we encountered problems when these graduates having only on theoretical part. But of course, don't deny that you have gone through labs, a lot of labs. But I believe that what we have to do now is, this is my I think it is good to have this, where industries will need to consider giving some fundings for public universities. Let's say, I know that MITI has a lot of policies. There may be tax exemptions, like this. I think when we are in our discussion with industries, a lot of times we discuss about tax exemption, and this basically attracted industries to, come in and provide something to the university. By doing this, first of all, we can teach students with the latest equipments, latest technology, from first year, second year until the end. So this is what we are doing at USM. And we are quite lucky because we are in Penang. So Intel coming in soon, So we're gonna have the most cutting edge facilities, but donated by the industry. But it couldn't be only for USM. I believe that it has to be all around Malaysia, because of when our students go to industry and we academicians go into industry and talk to industry, I think the same comment will come from industries. Why your students cannot do this? Why cannot students do that? No, we have trained according to the Board of Engineers requirements, and we have been accredited. Engineering Accreditation Council come and accredit us. We are accredited by all this curriculum. But unfortunately, when our students go to industry, the same thing happen. So I hope that by having this session, so industries will take note on this. Our top management can have go and discuss with our ministries, so that we're gonna have like sort of like endowment, or maybe like grant or whatever, so the money can be put somewhere and managed by maybe a consortium, and then universities who need that and need to focus on certain technology can actually have that fund and purchase. So on top of what government is giving to the universities. So in this case, then we're going to produce, I'm talking about engineers. So engineers that are high skilled engineers ready for industry. That's from me. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to make some comments because you made a very good observation. How do we respond to the new normal? Tengku also want to say something. One of the things, I think I'll leave Tengku to say first. Tengku, go ahead.
Thank you, Saudara Tan. I didn't plan to say anything, but I felt a few things are missing here, because we happen to have empirical evidence that you may not know. We suffer from a number of mismatches, and these mismatches become structural, and that is why we are having so much difficulty. The questions posed were, why didn't we have an interim moment? I have been a visitor to Hsinchu for many years. I know Italy very well. I know what they do, how they do, but we cannot do it. I will explain. I visited Korea, Japan. I know all these countries. I've been to Silicon Valley so many times. There's so many parts that we don't have. Another question was how to do better in post-normal times. So both questions need to be answered in a certain way, which I think is very important. We look at the mismatch first. Most people didn't know when we produced the first National Science Outlook 2016, we showed data that even our country's decision makers were not aware of. Number one, 80% of researchers are in either universities or in public research institutes. Only about 15% are in industry. The opposite, complete opposite is true in other countries. Most researchers are in industry, right? That's why you can innovate. So that's the number one issue. If you don't have research engineers, how can you produce innovative products? I'm not running you down. You're just listening to the MNC's instructions. You follow me, copy exact. I knew that from the 1970s. Copy exact, copy exact. That is not a way to innovate. You just copy. Then there's another structural problem. Universities have KPIs. Their KPIs are to publish papers in high impact journals. Right? You publish papers, you get promoted. You become big professor. But professor of what? I'm not running. I was in the university for 11 years. In fact, I will give you a little joke. When one of my friends became a professor, I asked him, oh, good, congratulations. What do you profess? When I saw his face, he was almost shocked and angry with me, offended. But to me, a professor is not merely a researcher. A researcher is a technician, in that sense, an engineering technician. A professor is actually a scholar, an intellectual, and somebody you can engage with on a broad range of subjects. I see David Lacey nodding his head. You agree with me? Yes. That is a professor, right? So I'm saying that if you insist on KPIs, only publish, you get what Stanford is getting now. You get what Harvard is getting now. Are you aware of what's happening in Stanford and Harvard? Fraud, massive fraud. Nobel Prize winners have been found out, called out for the last 20 years cheating. And that's Stanford and Harvard. What about in Penang? What about in UM? I was chairman of UM for 3 years. I know what's happening. It is not good for us. We are all cheating ourselves. Now, change the KPIs. We are working towards that. Last year, we completed, this year we completed, presented to the Ministry of Higher Education. We took 1 year to produce higher education reform. It was well received. We are going to free up the entire system, change the KPIs, everything. We are doing the roadmap right now. Not finished yet. You know who the chairman is? Professor Asma, formerly of USM. Now she sees the picture. Duduk dalam USM tak nampak. Keluar pun nampak. Itulah masalah kita. So these are the mismatches that's happening. We have to sort it out. Right? That's why we cannot have E3 moment or whatever moment. It cannot be done. Yeah. Now, let me just cover quickly. I don't want to give a long speech. What is post-normal times? Post-normal times actually demands that we do not centralize. We do not do top-down. It has to be done at the local level. You must self-organize. You have to distribute. You must make things non-homogeneous, not homogeneous. If you make it big, homogeneous, monolithic, you're going to die. Because decisions must be made on the fly, locally, on the fly. That's why it's very dynamic. I'm answering your question. It means you yourself must be dynamic and on the fly. So I think that's what we're looking at. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Tengku. So if you don't mind, I will translate it a little bit to our double E people. Not centralizing means processing on the edge. Each one of you and your organization need to make the decision that's good for you and figure out how to work together. That's what processing on the edge means. The edge is you. Because J. Rizal already said, and we already know, knowledge today is at the edge. Knowledge is available everywhere. We consume knowledge no longer at universities. Your children, we are all getting information. Who knows about AI, how to do prompt engineering? Did you go to any university to learn about prompt engineering? QED, right? So the point is, that's where we need to go. Don't depend on a central authority. Work together. Now, this is where I believe ASM, with the firepower of the brain cells in Malaysia together, they put together and say, this is the framework, and that's the information that Tengku just shared. By the way, thank you very much for allowing me to participate in that task force. So I can't say anything too much because they have to officially bring it out, right? So those things that they conclude are exactly the problems that we're discussing, but don't wait for the report to come out. We already know. First, knowledge is available everywhere. You also know, each one of you are creating your own business based on what is latest. And that's your business. Now, the second thing is collaborate. Find birds of a feather. And if you can't, I'm also suggesting to ASM, maybe this kind of forum have more frequently. We'll bring them together. Or with NCR, which is your fantastic role, by the way. It's a great facility, right? Do that. We already have social media, online, LinkedIn, anything. So go do it and find a way to do that. So I would say, you know the answer is. Most of the time we have discussions, we talk about, alamak, those ministers tak tahu apa pun. Of course they don't know because you're at the edge, you're in the center. So if they don't know, don't criticize them, go forward and work together. So that's basically the message that Tengku and the report team has kind of distilled down. There are a lot of recommendations on how you do each one of these parts, but that would be for the administrators to deal with and how we deploy that. Okay, so that's a very, very good question. And we had a very long answer from everyone. Next question. Okay, come on. We're getting really cool. I think we have somewhere over there got some questions, right? Are we anybody shy? Come. Okay, good. Well done. Yes. Questions from the edge. Come on down.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Tan Mo Leong from Geography USM. Okay. So I believe that everyone heard about climate change, and most of us believe that climate change is real. And then recently, like disaster recently happened, like heat wave, flood in Penang. So I just wondering, like, how this disaster could impact the industry. Like, for example, my electric bill for this month is like 2 or 3 times higher than the previous few months because of the heat wave, and then we have to turn on the aircon all day. And then, like, what is the impact? My first questions, and then the how industry is going to adapt this situation in the future. Yeah, thanks.
Oh wow, climate change question. Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, let me try. The climate is changing, and therefore, in Malaysia, especially, energy consumption is rising, right? And if you talk about areas for innovation, if you look at European countries, you can use for your green energy, you can use wave, wind, solar, and together that can operate like round the clock. And the situation for Malaysia is that the wave and wind is not so effective given the geography, and so you rely much more heavily on solar, but you can only generate solar for about 8 hours a day. So the big opportunity and the big unknown is storage, right? So the big missing technology chunk now is how do you store energy, solar energy, which you can generate plentifully during the day, so that you can use it at night, and that will become more and more important as we become more dependent on air conditioning and things like that. At a completely different level, building design is a great opportunity to use, for instance, convection to actively cool buildings, or at least get airflow in buildings. So there's a great opportunity to use creative design to improve the situation under the existing circumstances. There's a great opportunity to come up with some energy storage innovation. And if we don't do those things, then we run into a brick wall of not having any viable green energy solution, and that will become another one of those infrastructure problems I talked about. It's not yet, but it might become. So, a heat wave now is maybe a short-term problem, but it provides that little bit of extra stress that makes you realize, oh wow, I'm really dependent on electricity. Yeah. And then you start to think about, okay, how do I get a sustainable source of electricity around the clock? Then there's an innovation problem. That's an opportunity.
Any comments from? No? I would like to follow up with what Dr. Lazy just said. And that part there is about creativity based on a problem. Because that's where innovation happens. Innovation happens when you try to solve a problem that does not have a standard answer. Otherwise, it's not an innovation, it's just copy exact. So if you are actually into innovation, we should be looking at what are problems that we don't have solutions to. Okay? Now, of course, that some of these problem solutions may take a while, and that's really where we need to have our next generation know how to deal with this. We can deal with those because you are here, we can look, but we also need to engender the next generation to think creatively rather than just sweep left or sweep up. Because sweep left and sweep up has no innovation needed. The only innovation needed is, ooh, let's iPhone 27, let's buy one. Okay, so it's about putting in place the encouragements in schools, because that is the pipeline that we need to work through. We need to start the encouragements, because by the time they go to university, we now want them to be innovative, or they come into industry. You know how hard it is to learn a new skill. We'll be waiting for, what does the policy say? What does the government say? Where can I get funds? I won't think until I get some funds. That's what we've been having to deal with all day today. People are asking, if I don't have funds, I won't think. Hello? Right? So we need to think that through. And at universities, we should also be encouraging schools on how to help our next generation, our youngsters, to think creatively, because we know, okay, I'll say it here, our current education system isn't helping. Okay, question, yes. Kari.
Yes, I would like to add on something towards to that. So because we are in so-called environments startups, right, solve the e-waste. So this is what ET mentions, I think, should look into the solutions for the problems, right? I think what's missing in the educations, I mean, sorry to say that we are trained to be a worker, but we are not trained to be entrepreneurs or to be the boss. That's why, you know, here in Malaysia, I think it's pretty good, right, that multinational companies come here, they know that talents are there. But what we are really missing is our own NVIDIAs or TSMCs or others, right? I think we do have, but not enough. We need to have more. So I think from the educations wise, college or university, I think should look into entrepreneurs, right? How to become, for our startup, we call it founders, right? I think some of these problems are not so high tech also. Like give an example, like what's Dr. David mentions, like how to keep the energies. It can be in salt and it can be in rock. It's one of the things that's a lot around the world are doing right now. It can be in a very small so-called size, do not need to be huge. It can be now down to use by small areas of houses, not even up to the industries. And it's not really that cost so much. When it's hot, they keep it the heat. When it's needed, you put it up back and use it, right? Then nothing we should look into when it comes to climate change, basically is carbon captures. How to do carbon captures is not that difficult, right? I think biocharge is one of it. You can do it biocharge your house and a few more other things. I think the most important things what we like to encourage, so we did a couple of programs also, is to encourage young students, right, to think about solving problems, being entrepreneurs on that side, focus on solving the problems. And sometimes solutions could be very easy, do not need to be thinking too much. Something to add on. Thank you.
Okay.
Just to give you something to think about, how to turn heat into cold. Yeah, that's an interesting problem. After this event, Google Einstein refrigerator, and it is that Einstein. So he invented a chemical method to convert heat into cooling. Quite an interesting idea, which might be valuable in Malaysia.
Not to prolong it longer, but just to answer your question, when you say, why is my electricity bill going up and the climate is changing so rapidly? I mean, again, as you know, when the alert came out that in the world needs to get to 1.5 degrees to contain, because the world is overheating by more than 3 degrees. If we don't bring it down, there's a lot of effects. But the problem is, it's a world problem, right? Of course, in this part of the world where we are in, pollution is the culprit, right? So in Penang, you have this amount of footprint. If you have so many cars or so many industries polluting carbon dioxide, this is not going to go away, right? So I think when the so-called NETR or our net zero, it needs to have more downplay about what would you need to do. Carbon capture, our forests as putting more. I mean, we have already started the campaign of seeding 1 million trees, but this million trees takes about 10 years to be able to do what it's supposed to do, which is absorb carbon, right? But if we continue producing more carbon than we're growing the trees, this is a failing game, right? So the climate is changing because of this. Yeah, and if you read the reports by the ministry, our motorbikes and motor cars on the road is a major. Logistics and transportation is one of the major, apart from industrial factories. Yeah. So the solution, one of it, I think some solution that have seen Australia and others where they already have strict rules about polluting, but it's also how you as a community come together to regulate your environment, right? Yes, and to David's point that our building materials are more than 100 years, or some even more than 150 years, hasn't changed. How we insulate, how we look at things. Of course, we've done away with asbestos. We've done away with those which are more, carcinogenic that will kill you over a long term. But apart from that, there's not much innovation in building materials yet. Yeah, which I think there is really room to prove. Which I think Dr. Lee from IMAS was saying about, even in all those substrates, you have new materials looking at things. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Lee. I have a comment from Facebook. Ask Indonesia, don't burn trees. Use trees to generate biomass. Anybody want to comment on that one? It's also relating to the climate change issue, right? So just want to acknowledge the comment there. Okay, we have another question. Yes, please, Gary.
Hi, I'm Gary from Vitrox. I have a question for the problem that we are all facing, which is the traffic in the northern region, especially going from the mainland to the Penang or even coming back, right? So we all face this. It's not a day one issue. It's also to Mr. Razi's issue talking about pollution and all these things, because in the morning, the whole kampong goes to the industrial zone. In the evening, the whole kampong come back. So what could the Frapenka, okay, or maybe together with NCR, work together that innovates simple solutions like enabling, for example, probably carpooling behaviors, or even to reduce 20%, 30%, 50% of the cars usage on the roads. And Penang will be a very nice living place. And that would mean that I'm sure there are a lot of talents that is probably overseas would like to come back, because they will consider, if I come back, I have to travel all the way, spend 2 hours on the road, 1.5 hours on the road, compared to maybe in Singapore, I have to think twice.
Okay, that's one question for you, David. But before you do that, I just want to kind of have us we need to go back. I would like us to go back into the topics of maybe advanced packaging or semicon, because that's also the burning platform. Okay, so next question that's relating to that.
I'll just give you a quick answer. Actually, it's a human behavior issue, right? So we've all got 4 seats in our car and we only use one of them. Yeah. So we can solve the problem.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dave. Okay, next question. There's a question at the back.
All right. Respect that,
no
Mr.
cars, okay? No cars.
All right. No. Okay. I respect that, Mr. Moderator, all the panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. May I greet all of you with Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum, meaning may peace be on all of you. I'm Muhammad Ilyas. I'm from Digital Penang. So for those who perhaps don't know, Digital Penang is one of the Penang's GLC, government-linked company under Penang state government. So one of the main focus of Digital Penang is we promote digital economy and digitally engaged society. So coming to the question, the topic of this forum today is positioning Northern Corridor as a hub of global smart technologies. So based on current trend, how do you see that the Northern Corridor as a hub of global smart technologies help drive the economic growth as a whole for the next 20 years? Thank you.
Thank you for raising the topic back. Okay, who wants to take that one first? Where are we going in 20 years' time? Maybe 5, maybe 10. Latest offer.
Yeah, I think the as has been said, you've got to recognize a problem and then innovate or develop around it, right? So you've got this fantastic industrial network here, and if we work together and we engage with universities and the like, if the universities understand the problems which we have in industry and help us innovate to address those problems, then we achieve the aim written on the slide. We potentially create the unicorns that we're hoping for, and we really drive innovation, right? So innovation, the idea that you somehow sit in a darkened room and innovate is, history shows that doesn't really happen. You're confronted by a challenge or a problem, and it causes you to think of an idea to address that. So you've got this great hub of manufacturing and semiconductor technology and medical technology. In all those areas, nothing's perfect, and there's great opportunities to optimize, improve, or break some rules and break through. And so by working together, we've got all the pieces to make that happen.
Thank you, Elias. I think being the custodian of the Northern Corridor, I'm poised to answer that. Again, is something also I said much earlier during my presentation when I spoke about, in my own anecdote, parents, trying to look at what this new technology is. Because when we say smart technologies and how it helps, it's already here. It's how we change behavior, and also sometimes trying to make it more simple and reliable. Today, how many of you fret going to a restaurant and when you say, what's on the menu? He says, scan this QR code. All right? So until the QR code, and then you order, then only the person will come to you. And sometimes also even he'll send you the wrong order, or you'll send a robot to send you your food. Right? So that's smart technology. Some people will say, what might happen here? But that's coming, right? So people will either be afraid that their job opportunities and the workplace, even at a small retail, is also being taken away. But is that the case? No. For the restaurateur, they want actually to make things able to collect data. So smart technology, sometimes when you talk about digitalization, everything wants to collect data, but at what expense? Inconvenience, frustration of people, all right? And sometimes is missing the thing. People refuse to use it. So as we push this envelope of smart tech, we got also need to humanize it. How do you make this so people embracing it rather than resist and say, this is rubbish, I'm not going to do this. So that's where I think we still have that gap.
I'm going to open one last question because I noticed that people are getting nervous about the traffic. Okay, one last question. Okay, up there. You guys have to go ting tong teng. Which one go first?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think want to share a little bit about myself. So, first is mean about innovative. So, because we are in industry, and every time we have a new colleague joining, even though with a PhD holder. Okay, so sometimes we don't say that academic time they are more than qualified, but come to industry, come to something that, for example, we talk about simple thing, wire bonding. Okay, everyone know wire bonding is 20 years technology, nothing special. But until today, there's still a patent filing for wire bonding. The same thing, handphone. It's not new, but today people still filing so many patents for handphone. You see, so I mean that we need to train our student that to look at the thing in 3 dimensions. This is what David trained me. I was report to David for past 20 years. Okay, see, this I was trained. Okay, so I mean that because we are engaging with this student, with this new colleague, all those things, this is a missing puzzle. Although they can have a lot of this, maybe journal or whatever, very high ranking, but come to innovative, sorry to say, they are zero. Okay, because I confident to say this because I'm doing this coaching one-to-one to guide all those new engineers how to write the pattern, all those things. I mean, sorry to say, zero. Then, of course, through our guidance, everything, then in 6 months' time, they change the thing. Then they start writing 1, 2, 3, and then they get the trend already. Then they can start move very fast. So in less than 3 years, they have 4 or 5 patents in Europe Patent Office. Before that, they never know. That they never think they can do this. Okay, so now my question is, why not we transform this information or this type of thing? I mean, Penang, we have advantage. Okay, we have a lot of people that they read. So we get this and then transform this information into university. Okay, so that I believe today, even though we already taught in Malaysia, Penang, in terms of pattern, maybe another few years we are taught in Asia or taught in Southeast Asia. At least we beat Singapore. This will be a milestone. Okay, sorry,
right.
This is my question.
I don't know what the question is.
No, so what can university do? I mean,
okay,
other than too formal on academic, on journal, and all those things, but end up just miss out the, I mean, thinking out of the box or look at the thing in 3 dimensions. Okay, I found that they only look at the thing at the single dimension. Okay, now when you transform them, then they get the method, they get the way, they can perform. It's not doesn't mean that they are stupid. They are super talent. It just need to turn their mind to transform. So maybe maybe university or maybe USM have any strategy or whatever, so that because we need more talent in upcoming. Yeah.
So okay, before you go further, I think we just put that one on a hold for a minute. You had a question at the back. Let's do that because I want to wrap this up very quickly.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Okay, have a good day. I'm Hasril. I'm from Kuliah Tepak, and then I'm an authorized partner of TM. So my question or my concern is about the global smart technologies. So when we talk about smart technologies, it's about connectivity, especially in 5G or internet. So I want to ask panelists, what is the initiative for Penang or Northern on the connectivity? Because last time I think I saw that in Langkawi they have a 5G, but I don't know whether it's still in the pilot or any plan for the 5G. But when we have a very fast internet, then we can do a lot of things on connectivity and any automation and so on.
Okay, so I think that question is probably better answered by a person here, Mr. Ming. Mr. Ng. Give him a mic. Okay, because we just heard the answer from him over lunchtime, Mr. Ng. Just to say, Mr. Ng is the CEO of Digital Penang, and so he's very much in tune with the digitization of Penang.
I can answer for Penang. I can't answer for Kulim. Different state. So for Penang, the approach for most infrastructure rollout and things that we want to absorb and transform as fast as we can, the typical answer is we do it first, and then we re-look into the policy. So Penang's approach is that Penang, the entire state, is like a huge technology sandbox. If those of you who don't understand what a sandbox is, go and look it up. So we look at it as a sandbox. What are the policies on the edge that is interrupted when this transformation is taking place? We will relook into those policies to see whether it's something that we can adopt, something legislature can change for it, or if not, we have to write a note to say that it's an exceptional case. So typically, a good example is what we did for the 5G rollout, where we started late, and Penang now has about 92+% coverage of 5G for the entire state. We caught up with KL, even though we started late. We allow all the telcos to, all the contractors for telcos to erect all the towers. And then, based on the understanding that these are the policy and rights and wrongs that you should follow while you're building the towers, we will come and audit after you have built it. Obviously, if you built it wrongly, we will fine you and you have to tear it down at your own cost. But to date, I think one tower left at one surau, the rest is all okay. Right? So it's an adoption of how we want to change. Traditional way is we have to seek local government approvals, federal approval, and other approvals required before we can start construction. But Penang, we did it differently. You do it first. Then we come and look for approval. Right? So that way we roll things out faster. And it's the same premise with YB Gobin, Ministry of Digital. Whatever programs that they have, we are looking to roll out first to be a beta site. If it works, good. If there are tweaks to it, we revert back to it, change it for then when you roll out for the country. That's Penang's approach. We are a huge sandbox, right?
And if I could just to link it together with the smart technology question, I think what's ahead of us globally, innovation in the next 50 years plus, the majority of that innovation will be enabled by electronics and software. So even if it's a medical innovation or an agricultural innovation, the likelihood is that the implementation of that innovation will be through electronics and software. Right? So again, Penang is in a fantastic place because of the strength in those things. You have the tools to innovate because the majority of the innovation will need those tools. So the opportunity is right there.
Thank you, Dr. Lacey. So I would say with that comment, let me take the opportunity and also the big task of trying to summarize what we have just covered today. It's a very, very big area, but what surprised me is how different this afternoon's conversation is from this morning's conversation. Okay, so for you who've been there, let me say, this morning's conversation, we were really talking about technical stuff. We were talking about why don't you do this? Why can't you do this? All that technical stuff. This afternoon, I think this audience, this group, has gone one level higher on the more difficult area. Why can't we implement these things? And that the reasoning we've just gone through is actually ourselves. I say the bigger ourselves, okay? Not only us, but the rest of us out there in the rest of the country. But what we hear also that Tunku did very well summarizing is it's also up to us to influence other people if you know more. If you already know, don't go and point. Oh, when you point the finger to someone, 3 is pointing back. You should be articulating because you know more. We talked about that. And also, Dr. Lacey has been kind of pointing that out in a different way. The university is doing that. And CER, what they're doing is they're trying to help you fund, and their funding is one-to-one. You don't pay, we don't pay. So it means you better be sure what you want to do because your money goes out there first. So the point here is all the elements are there for us to make the right decision. Each one of you, each one of your organizations. So you might say, your organization didn't make decision, not my fault. Well, that's the same thing as saying the government didn't do it. It's up to you to convince your management because you need to argue, present, you need to be able to articulate your case. Because if you can't argue your case, who's going to do that? You wait for somebody else to do that? So I think this conversation today is actually a very interesting one for me because you all came up with those points. I just am summarizing it. And Tengku also has the framework that he explained just now. So I think we really need to feel empowered. Not only empowered, as David pointed out, he's been in Penang longer than I have. I don't know about you guys. He says, Penang actually has the talent. You have the talent. You know how to do, otherwise Penang won't be attracting the kind of investment and companies. They don't come here because the government give them more money. Vietnam can give them more money too. They come because of you. So don't depend on other people. We have ourselves to blame if we don't work. But I think we have ASM here. They have a bigger picture. They want to enable that. So I coined the phrase is not, he coined that Tunku said not central. I coined, we have to decide at the edge. Penang has for a long time been at the edge, and we've been successful because we've been at the edge. Let's continue. And now if we have central support and we have other things done right, imagine how much faster we can go since we already know. So with that, I just want to thank you, everybody else. Tengku, do you want to say anything? And Puan Hazami? Okay. Last comments from the panelists? Okay. Go ahead.
I just want to add in because of the last question related to PhD holders from Malaysian University do not know how to apply IP and so on and so forth. I just want to add in because of here in Malaysia, I believe that let's look at the scenario maybe like I've been in this academic for almost like 18 years already. And I've seen that those students who are getting their PhD and the research, we can say that research, in-house research means in universities research. So they are not exposed to people outside, and research are totally research in lab. So they don't, you just imagine, these students are coming from undergraduate with good results. They always perform. And sometimes these students, they have like fast PhD, we call it in USM, where they from undergraduate, once graduated, they can join PhD if they get first class degree and they passed one exam. Working alone in a team without going outside in those years makes them like this. When they go outside, they are not exposed to what's happening outside, and this is the result. But nowadays, because of, now I'm taking this opportunity talking in front of industries, please believe in Malaysian universities. We can actually produce. Because when I joined something like, even during those years, maybe 20 years back, when we say we are from universities, industries will always look at, we have more advanced technology. You have to teach. You teach, we take your students, work at our side, and that's all. But today's scenario is different because if industries have to move up the value chain. It means it's not only like taking students and then put in manufacturing and that's it. We are going beyond that. So we need innovative thinking and a lot more things. So this is what we are doing. And with the help of industry, come to university, because most probably from universities, it's difficult for us to go and do marketing, even though I'm doing that for my students as the dean. But I hope that university can come to us and voice out what do you need. So if we can work together, you can. So what we are doing at School of EE, whatever being produced, most of the time, of course, we want to share the IP. Now we start producing it. Okay, and at the level of researchers, we are trying to go. We don't want to repeat whatever have been doing in so many years, where we take something like a copy and execute. I mean, those technology reinvent the rules. I mean, the wheel. So we are collaborating with international universities. For instance, when we talk about EE, we are venturing into IC design and IC development. So we're talking with Samsung. And we have our students going there after graduation, going there. And the good thing is Samsung open to us to work together, looking at how do we collaborate and come out with good IC design. I mean, by having this, please come to university. So we have sections. You have my contact. You can come to us so that industries can work closely with industries, so that whatever we produce as our talents are well-trained and talented and high-skilled talents. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, with that last comment, Dr. Lacey, anything? Last comments you want to make?
If I have to say something, I'll go back to my first point when I spoke, which is let's make the best of what we've got, right? So we're in a great situation. Sure, there's lots of little things which could be better, but we're in a great situation. Let's make the most of it and go break some rules.
The last comment on behalf of NCR is how we come together. Don't be shy, and this is where we will want to be able to facilitate and connect the dots. Happy to have events like this and really get to know each other and able to brainstorm, some breakthrough thinking and how we can work. Yeah, thank you.
With that, I want to thank very much the panelists and most of all the audience and Tunku and Puan Hazami and ASM team for a fantastic event. And all of you who came over and stuck around a bit, I hope you don't get too much of a big traffic jam going back. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tan Eng Tong and esteemed panelists for the engaging discussion. I trust that everyone here has a deeper comprehension of today's topic and prepared to translate the insight into actionable steps. We have come to the end of today's program. I would like to thank our distinguished guests once again for the insightful session today. A big appreciation to the Northern Corridor Implementation Authority and CIA for co-organizing this program. Thank you, and until we meet again.